Hey guys, okay, so today we're doing something a little bit different. Instead of walking you through a recipe that I've made from a book, I just sort of winged this. I will say I do get to show you my favorite vanilla cake recipe, so that's exciting. But I made this cake for a New Year's Eve party. It was 2023 themed, and I knew that that was the year of Barbie as well as the year of Taylor Swift. So I wanted to make a Barbie cake that was Taylor Swift. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, it was all the rage to have one of those birthday cakes that was a Barbie in the center and the cake was actually her skirt. So that's what I made. It was a bit of healing my inner child because I never got one at one of my birthday parties. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, morale was low. I almost gave up on this cake halfway through, but I am so glad that I didn't because it turned out great. So this is definitely a do as I say, not as I do moment because there are a lot of things that I would do differently. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope maybe it saves you some heartache if you try any of these techniques. Okay guys, so step one of this 2023 themed cake is to get the Barbie. So I went to Target, I got a Barbie. I just got a blonde one, that's all I wanted, but she happens to be some sort of like vet. So there's a dog that like gives birth to puppies. It's like a whole thing. But there was a chew toy as a part of the package that I'm turning into a little microphone. So it was like a tug toy, like tug of war, and I know I'm crazy. I like cut one end off and I'm coloring it in black with a Sharpie to try to make it like a microphone. So here we go. Okay, I don't really think it needs to be perfect, so I'm gonna let this dry. Oh! Now I'm gonna let this dry. And then I need to go to the store and get the ingredients for the cake. I'm not sure what look we are doing. I also am going to need to hot glue this into Barbie's hand, this little microphone. So those are our next steps. Stop dancing to the music and the chase, like this was meant to be. Take my hand, I feel my heartbeat, and I don't want this moment to stop. So like she had a dog toy and I'm like coloring it black and then I'm like pretending like it's a microphone.
Oh my gosh, Reed, that's perfect.
I know, I was like, I don't know how hard I'm gonna go in this cake, and then I was like, I realized I have only one speed, which is like all out.
Yeah.
So
Kind of have to.
we're committing to the bit. My favorite vanilla cake comes from Half Baked Harvest, which I have mixed feelings about her overall, but this is a great vanilla base cake. So it's coming from her blackberry lavender cake, but I just pulled out the actual vanilla cake part, and this is what I always make now. It has Greek yogurt as well as buttermilk, and it's just like so light and fluffy. It's delicious. So this is my go-to. This is me mixing together the wet ingredients, then I'll add the dry. It's a very simple recipe, like literally wet ingredients, mix, dry ingredients, mix. So super simple, and is linked down below. Once you've mixed everything together, you're gonna get a really nice smooth batter. And then I like to be very precise. So I put my cake pans onto scales to make sure I have exactly half in each and that they'll bake to the same size. I only recorded me doing the big cake pans, but I actually made 1.5 batches of this batter and then made 2 small cakes later that you'll see me stack up. So this is them out of the oven. All I had to do was level off the tops, which gives me lots of crumbs and scraps to eat, which is always my favorite part. Now, people always seem really impressed when I say that I made a homemade jam for my cakes, but it to me is really the only way, because you can control the sugar. And so if you have a really sweet cake, you can make it a more tart jam. It's just super simple. So I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. Basically, you're just going to take frozen. I always use a berry. So like here I have blueberries, and you're just going to cook them down. Frozen is just cheaper, but you can also use fresh. See this plate? Okay, that's going to come back into play later. But when you start making your jam, put a small plate into the freezer. Just keep mashing those berries so that you get the liquid out, and then you're going to add sugar. Now, adding sugar, it's all about how much you want to add, so I usually taste it and see how much it needs. I added about a half a cup here, and then just mixed it in, kept cooking it, and this is when I realized that blueberries actually don't have a ton of flavor, so I added some strawberries in. So while it was mostly a blueberry jam, strawberry flavor is just great, and it needed a little something extra, so I added those. And then you'll see I'm bringing back the plate. So I'm just going to add a little bit of my jam onto it to test if it's done. I run my finger through it and see how it stays with that line. That means that we're good. It's cooked down enough. So at this point, I just take it off the heat and scoop it into a container to cool. Swiss meringue buttercream is my go-to for all of my cakes. You might remember this from the chocolate cake recipe that I posted where it was an Italian buttercream. That was just a ton of work and it was good, but I didn't feel like it was that much better. So Swiss meringue is still my go-to. This recipe is from Sally's Baking Addiction. It's linked down below, and it works every time. So because the base of this buttercream is a meringue, thus the name, I'm separating out my eggs really carefully. I'm doing it one at a time and then taking those egg whites and putting it into the bowl that I'm going to be whipping the meringue in. You really have to be super careful because if you even get a speck of the yolk, that fat will prevent your meringue from coming together. So that's why I separate them in a separate bowl and then pour them in one by one. That way I don't, this is like 6 eggs. So if I crack 5 perfectly and in the 6th there's some yolk, then I have to throw it all away. So just go one by one. Now I'm adding my sugar into those egg whites. I'm going to whisk them around and then put them on a bain-marie or a double boiler so that they can slowly heat up, and I'm going to whisk it the whole time while it's heating up. You want to get this to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Before, I haven't let it go long enough, so I highly recommend using a thermometer to see when it actually hits that. This is a visual of what it's going to look like. It's actually pretty watery when you get to that point. You're going to take it off the bain-marie, and then you're going to put it onto your stand mixer and let the meringue whip for about 10 minutes until you get hard peaks. Now you're going to start making your emulsion. So we have room temperature butter cut out by tablespoon, and you're going to add it really slowly. This is going to take a while because you want each tablespoon to be fully incorporated before you add the next one. Swiss meringue buttercreams can be a little bit intimidating because of the emulsion, but it's really easy to correct whichever way it goes. If the butter's too cold, then you can put it back over the bain-marie to heat it up. Or if it's too hot and it's all soupy, then you just put it in the fridge for a while. So I added my vanilla and my salt once the emulsion was done, and that's it. That's your vanilla Swiss meringue buttercream. I wrapped it, and this can stay at room temp for up to 2 days, but I was making the cake the very next morning, so I just kept it on the counter. Alright, so time to assemble. First, I wrapped up Barbie. I wanted to make sure she didn't get dirty, but also the plastic didn't touch the cake. So I wrapped the bottom half of her up, and then I started stacking my cakes. So I have my cake board here, secured it to my turntable, and then add a little bit of frosting on the bottom to make the cakes stick. And I had leveled off my cakes. I don't think I filmed that, but not perfectly, but I cut off the tops. I knew I was sort of going to be butchering it anyway. And then I took a cookie cutter. This is actually a scone cutter, but it made holes in the middle. So added my jam, fully taking out the middle portion so that Barbie can go in the middle. And then I'm just repeating this with all my cakes. So jam and then cake on top. I started adding a crumb coat for stability, but then I realized, you know what, I'm about to cut through this. So I only did it for part of it, and then I just took my cake knife to it, or sorry, my bread knife, and started shaving away in the shape of a general dress. There is no rhyme or reason here. I was just going with my heart, cutting where I felt like I needed to, and I ended up taking all these shavings and making cake balls, which were really delicious, so it did not go to waste. But this is me sort of carving it, and then I did a crumb layer or crumb coat with my Swiss meringue buttercream. I took the leftover buttercream and I mixed 3 different hues of purple. I knew I wanted to do the Speak Now dress from Taylor's Eras tour, so that's an ombre purple dress, so I just did 3 different levels of purple, and I was going to add that on the cake from darkest to lightest. My first attempt with the rice paper, I was like, okay, let me create a mold of the cake and then I'll drape it over it. But for obvious reasons, that did not work and the cake just wasn't hard enough. I didn't have room in the freezer for it. So maybe if I had frozen it. So then I just took a bowl and put my Silpat over it and was like, I'll just drape it over this. So I next did the same 3 hues of purple, but with my rice paper water. So I ended up cutting, this is a full sheet of rice paper. I ended up cutting it into strips. And for the lightest color, I did a couple to drape over the dress, but then also for the Barbie herself. So I made her top out of 2 sheets of rice paper, dyed the lightest color purple. I'm the best thing that has ever happened to you. Here's your time to shine, now show me what you can do. The way my hands feel on your body, the way we're dancing in the dark. This is how I ended up draping the rice paper over the aluminum foil. So I did this with 3 different colors and then I baked it until hard. It was the lowest temperature my oven would go, I think for around an hour. So just until it was crisp and then I took it back out. But it didn't go to plan, which I'm about to debrief for you all. Okay guys, so I'm popping in here to explain why there's not a lot of footage. And that's because morale was low, like I said. So I really thought I might have to give up on this cake. First hurdle was that I put Barbie in the center and it wasn't tall enough to reach her waist. So of course I didn't measure. Why would I measure? So that was a surprise to me. Now, I had 2 options. I knew I could either cut her feet off or make the cake taller. So because I had all the cake shavings from when I leveled the tops, I was able to pack that on and build the skirt up to her waist where it needed to be. So that was great. That was the first hurdle. The second was the rice paper. While beautifully executed in terms of the dyeing and the baking, I made it on tinfoil, which in all the instructions I read online, they were using parchment, but I was low on parchment. And I thought, I have so much aluminum foil, I'll just use this. Turns out there was a reason that they didn't use aluminum foil because it sticks. So the reason her dress looked more tulle than sort of fabric draped like the real dress is because a lot of them shattered. Anytime I had like a thin layer and it wasn't more bunched up, it broke. So that was very upsetting. And that's where I was thinking, okay, maybe I just have to go with the frosting. Maybe I just do the ombre frosting and call it a day. It's not going to be great, but whatever. I was able to salvage enough that the back of the cake was not fully clothed. It was, it had frosting, but it didn't have the rice paper on it. So that ended up being okay, but definitely next time use parchment or grease the aluminum foil. I'm not really sure, whichever works, but that was upsetting. But we got through it. So my process was just taking the 3 ombre colors and using the darkest purple around the bottom and then medium and then lightest and sort of making an ombre. So I just spread those over and then I began placing the pieces of rice paper in that same order, starting with darkest so that the lighter colors sort of overlap on the top. There wasn't a ton of overlapping, like I said, because I didn't get the more sweeping pieces of rice paper, but it still made a really nice ombre effect. After that, I added some glitter, and that really brought it all together. So I had edible glitter I got off Amazon that I pull out every now and then, and I felt like that really added the sheen that it needed. So I just took a paintbrush and brushed it over. So that's how we got to our final state. I apologize for a lack of footage, but like I said, morale was low, but we made it, so it's okay.
What you can do, make a move. The way my hands feel on your body, we were dancing in the dark.
So like I said, I went darkest to lightest with the buttercream and then did the same with the rice paper. And then here I added some edible glitter. So it really brought it all together. It turned out really pretty. I'm glad I did not give up. But going forward, fixing the rice paper technique and using some parchment paper would definitely make it a lot easier.
What you can do, make a move. The way my hands feel on your body, the way we're dancing in the dark. With every move I make.
All right, guys, so the cake, like I said, huge hit. A couple of things that I would change. Measure the cakes, I guess. Change the rice paper approach. I'm glad I didn't use modeling chocolate. That would have been a ton of work and it wouldn't have turned out as good. Otherwise, it was really great. I got a lot of comments like, wow, this also tastes good. I think people are so used to having cakes that look cool that have just been sitting out for days or filled with like Rice Krispie or PVC pipe like from Cake Boss that they were shocked and delighted when it was actually a delicious cake. So I highly recommend the Half Baked Harvest vanilla cake recipe. It's linked down below. I always use it. It's the moistest vanilla I've ever made, and it just has a really good balance. It's not too sweet. So that plus the jam, and I didn't mean to make the jam the same color as Speak Now, but it ended up working perfectly. So it was really a great hit. I got a lot of confidence boosts from all the compliments at the party. So I think it was tons of fun. I loved combining Barbie and Taylor Swift. I thought it was the perfect 2023 cake. So whether you're making a Barbie cake just for fun or for some little one's birthday party, I hope this helps you, keeps your morale high. Do as I say, not as I do. I think that's like the mantra of this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.
My darling, I love you.